Hey guys, it's the Shy Simmer here, and today I decided that I wanted to do an off-the-grid build. So, off-the-grid is a setting that you can put on lot traits. It basically means that you'll have no electricity and no water. So, everything you build has to accommodate for that. So, that means no electric lightings, no electric fridges, and a couple other things. One thing that I was curious about while I built this though, is I did end up putting some solar panels and water collection things. I didn't try it out, but I was very curious if I put those, but I have the off-the-grid trait, could I still use the electricity and water that I was gathering from the different devices that they have? Because if you could, that could be really cool. You have no bills, but you can still get a little bit of electricity and a little bit of water because, you collected those resources. So I was wondering if that's how it worked out. I haven't actually tested it, but that would be really cool if that's actually how it would work. So right now, this is just part one of this build. This is going to be a two-part series, so make sure you follow my channel again to see the second part. But the first part is mainly the interior, and the second part is mainly the exterior, the landscaping, and then the final walkthrough. So what it ended up being in this house was a kitchen/dining room, a little living room, a bedroom, a bathroom, and then I put a little craft room in there because I don't know, I just planned it for a single person, and I thought, maybe they might be crafty. And then I also put a little bit of an outdoor space that's covered up, you'll see that later, and it has, a couple of things like the woodworking table and just a couple other things that I thought someone that is living off the grid might use. So as of right now, you can see that I'm kind of trying to figure out the floor plan. This small room ends up being the living room. I was trying to work around whether to make it the dining room or the living room or what to do with it, but I did end up deciding to do the living room in this space. The next thing I start working on is the kitchen. I did redo the floor plan for this a couple times. One time I had it where the island was kind of more towards the middle of the room, and I did like it like that. However, since I was trying to do a tiny home, I felt like it took up too much room, and so I kind of ended up turning it, as you see here, where it's now at this orientation. I still think it works. It's pretty cute. One thing I'm not so sure about with this build is that even though I'm doing a single sim, they have a lot of seating. They have the dining room, the little living room, the little dinette, and then they also have some outdoor spaces, but I figured they'd want to enjoy the little house that they made out here and maybe invite a couple folks or whatever they're planning on doing. And as for the furniture, I wanted to pick some things that kind of looked homemade, but then I also gave it kind of like a bright, colorful kind of theme that went along with the woodland and the cabin-y vibe. I'm not sure how well I pulled it off, but I did end up really liking this build. In the living room, I ended up putting the fireplace, a little rocking chair, and a couch. This is not the orientation it ends up being. I couldn't find a way to fit it the way I wanted to. In a lot of my smaller builds, I tend to do this, where I put the living room right off the front door, and I wanted to do something just a little bit different. So I didn't want to feel like, all my builds were kind of copying each other, because I know that's not very fun to watch. It's one thing to have a personal style, and it's another thing just to keep copying the same builds over and over again. So at this point, I'm kind of bringing in the house a little bit because I realized, for one, I didn't plan for a bathroom, and for two, that I really wanted to do this little craft room idea. So now I'm rearranging it, and I'm going to put the living room where it's going to go at, in the end. And then I ended up putting the dining room where it goes in the end. And the dining room is really just, the little dining table off to the side. But either way, I'm rearranging the living room, trying to find a place for the dining room. This was not the easiest build because it's only one sim, so it wasn't that bad, but I did the 64 tiles, and like I said, I wanted to have the craft room, I wanted to have a full kitchen, a full living room, and even though it was off the grid, I really wasn't having too many issues with that, because thankfully they still have a couple showers that work, they still have a couple fridges that work, a couple ovens, and as for the lighting sources, you can just get a whole lot of candles, which you will see is exactly what I did in this build. I put up room dividers with candles, I put up decorations with candles. There's just candles everywhere in this build. And as I talked about just a little bit earlier, I did put solar panels on the roof of this house. I did put a couple wind turbines. I don't know, if they look exactly pleasing to the eye, but That was the whole idea with the off the grid. I figured, they would need a way to collect water or mine electricity. I believe I actually put a generator in too. Um, but I wanted to make sure that they did have at least some options available. I still feel like it gives it the off the grid vibe. You're not getting anything from the regular sources or anything like that. And here I am again working on the living room, and I'm putting in some lighting now. You can see the divider that I used that has the candles inset. I think that actually ended up being so pretty. I also used it kind of as like a mini black backsplash up against this wall, behind the little breakfast nook. And a couple of these little, what do you call these? The lights on the wall, whatever they're called. I used a few of those, and then they had this ring light that you can see right here with the different candles in them. And at this point, I started working a little bit towards the craft room, as you just saw. I really wasn't sure at first what I was going to put in there, but I know that I wanted that rocking chair to be a part of it. And as the room kind of developed, I figured I'm going to make that, a really crafty room and put all of the, more woodworking and candle making stuff outside under a little covered shelter. I also saw this little covered wood storage thing. I wasn't exactly sure where it was going to fit, but because I put that little fire pit out back that you just saw, I knew I wanted it on this house. It was so important that I had it. I just kind of kept it off to the side for a little bit until I saw how the windows were going to lay out and see where I could fit it. And this is that little over-covered shelter that I was talking about. And as you can see, I put the candle making kit and the woodworking table out there. One of them I still have in the craft room, but it will end up being moved out there. And I just did this little kind of cheaty 3-tile bathroom. I do it in a lot of my tiny builds. It just saves quite a bit of space. I love that university shower. That's the shower that doesn't have any kind of stall. That really lets you have that flexibility. And I'm just throwing a couple decorations out there. That is the embroidery project that's available from Nifty Knittings. And then they had the yarn bags. They had the table loom. I actually haven't tried to play with the table loom yet, and I'm not exactly sure how you use it. It said tabletop, so I made sure that it was on a tabletop, so I figured that might be how you have to use it. If not, then, they still have that desk in there that they could sit at and work at. And with all these bright colors in the rooms, I tried to use this rug to kind of tie it together. I know it kind of just adds more crazy colors, but I feel like since the layout was already crazy colored enough, somehow it wraps it all together. That might not be how that works, but that's how it worked in this house. So I took this rug. I really like it. I think it's super pretty. So I put that in the crafting room, and then I'm going to lay down my flooring. I just did some naturalish looking wood to try to keep the whole vibe. And then I picked these windows. I believe they're from Jungle Adventure, but once again, I thought it kind of fit the little quota that we had going on here. I do end up changing them to the color white. I think it gives a little bit more of a dainty look, which is what this build ended up moving towards. Originally, I was really planning more of like a rustic-y cabin, maybe using the windows from Seasons or from Cats and Dogs, something like that. But I actually ended up liking these windows quite a bit. And with this one, I ended up going with the solar panel roof tiles. I'm not sure if they actually use the solar power energy or not. These are really things I need to look into. But either way, whether they did or didn't, I still felt like they fit the vibe of the house. Something kind of new age out there in the woods. The whole off the grid type thing, but more with the newer age thing that have come with it, like the new wave of tiny homes and like the converted buses and stuff like that. But I thought that this looked, just the right amount of rustic and modern at the same time. So here's a little overview, and I really think this build is coming out great. But there's going to be a part 2. Please keep your eye out for it on my channel. And with that being said, I would love to say thank you for watching. Please make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. It really does help out the channel. And if you guys have any ideas for future videos, please let me know. I really want to make sure I'm making videos that you guys would like to see. So once again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys later. Bye-bye.